Let's get you back now to court in Massachusetts. On the stand is accident reconstructionist Dr. Judson Welcher.
With the court's permission, I'd like to have Dr. Welcher use his PowerPoint presentation to walk us through some of the information he'd like to share today.
Okay. No objection, Mr. Leslie, right?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm looking at a paper version in front of me.
Okay. Is the paper version the same as what we're going to see up here?
It is.
Okay, then that's fine.
Thank you. And Dr. Welcher is going to manage the PowerPoint presentation. Sir, you mentioned that you wanted to look at the area and look at the scene. Your office is in California?
It is.
Why was it important to come all the way out to this area to see the scene firsthand?
Hold on a second.
I'll let you set up before I start asking you more questions.
We went through this, had it working perfectly. Here we go.
Okay.
So that's me. No, that's my first slide. No. Again,
I have a couple questions for you, Dr. Welcher.
please.
The first is, your office is in California.
Oh, yes, sir.
Why was it important to come all the way out here and view the scene firsthand?
You want to have as much information as possible. So I wanted to, physically look at all the things so I can actually see with my own hands, my own eyes, lay hands upon it, look at it as best I can. You try and inspect and look at as many things as you possibly can. Sometimes they don't exist anymore, sometimes they're gone, and you have to make a best approximation if you can't do that. In this case, I was able to look at the scene in both vehicles.
Was that an important part of your study, Doctor?
I think so. Again, it's always good if you're going to talk about what happened to the cars or what happened to the people to look at what happened to the cars, meaning to actually look at the cars, not just look at photographs when possible. So I have physically looked at the cars. For example, on the Lexus, I climbed in it, over it, underneath it. I downloaded data from it. I did a whole bunch of things looking at Ms. Reed's Lexus to assist in my analysis to try and add some further objective data to what we're doing here. So same thing with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Looked at the rear bumper, took some pieces off the rear bumper to see what was behind the cover, to see what kind of damage we did or didn't have. So went to the scene, looked at the measurements of the curb, looked at where some of the lines are on the road because you can see them in some of the photographs. Again, it's always good when possible to inspect everything you can inspect.
If you could now begin and tell us how you started your investigation.
Sure. So on September 23rd, I had an opportunity to come out. Mr. Brandon, was the first time I ever met you on that day, I believe. And I had received material before that. And what you see here is, this is my inspection of Miss Reed's vehicle. In the upper left photograph, you'll see, oh, this doesn't work very well. Upper left photograph, that's Miss Reed's vehicle, that's Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, the Chevy Traverse. And then what you see here is a laser scanner. You can see it on the ground here. Laser scanner is creating a 3D model of the vehicles. So I use that to create a 3D model of the vehicles. You can see me in the upper right photograph. That watch is this watch right here, my Garmin watch. And what I'm doing is looking at the construction composition of that right rear corner of the bumper. I'm looking at things such as the dimensions, where various lights and components are, and how does the geometry of that bumper relate to things that would be hit when backed into.
Dr. Welcher notes this is 9/23/94. Is that an accurate date of when you came and first started looking at the vehicles in the area?
You said 24, correct?
I did.
You said 9/23/24, correct. And then on the slide, what I tried to do is underline what I'm doing. So this is inspection of the Read Lexus. And as noted, I'm only showing you a couple. I actually took 445 photographs.
Do you remember when you began this case? The month or the date?
No, it was obviously before this. I had material before I came out to look at the vehicles.
Do you think it was months before this?
I don't think it was months. No, it was maybe a month, if not less.
So you began your work in the fall of 2024?
Correct.
And I just want to ask you about the picture in the middle. You see the right taillight housing is missing. Did you
Correct.
understand that had been removed prior to you looking at the car?
It was, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. However, some of the evidence stickers, these white stickers here, were still on the vehicle.
You did not place those. Did you place those stickers on yourself?
I did not.
Were they there when you first saw the car?
Correct. They match what I'd seen in other photos.
Okay, thank you.
So just continuing on, so what you see is, again, I mentioned looking underneath the bumper. So we wanted to see what, if anything, was damaged on the corner. So I'm putting my hand to show where the frame rail ends. This is me looking up underneath to the back side of this taillight. If you can see, this red taillight actually sticks out. And so
All right, he is reviewing that PowerPoint presentation, so it gives us an opportunity as he's testifying to bring in our guest for this hour to discuss. Joining us this hour from Los Angeles, California, former Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé. Philip, great to see you. Nice to have you on today. Okay, we're just getting into his testimony as he's reviewing that PowerPoint presentation, talking about the hundreds of photographs that he took to document any kind of markings on the vehicle. What is your initial takeaway from his testimony, Philip?
I like the fact he relied on a myriad of materials in forming the basis of his opinion, including the statements that Karen Read gave extrajudicially, either to TV folks during Dateline or whatever type of interview she gave, and certainly on the steps of the courthouse. All of that is being factored in. But what I am not hearing, and this is what I hope they decide to really hone in on, are whether or not there are any insults, if you will, to John O'Keefe's body, such as chemical, physical, sharp force trauma that could match up to the vehicle. Because the coroner had testified that there was really no point of impact on John's body that could help her opine that this was caused by the car, that the car actually catapulted him and caused him to land where he ultimately came to rest. That is really the big question for this jury is, despite her statements, is there something on his body to suggest that a vehicle hit him? Because remember, she went 60 feet, put the car in reverse, going 24 or 25 miles an hour. And I think to the outsider or casual observer, you would expect some type of what they call in medical legal, an insult to his body. And I'm not hearing that they ever found that, at least during the autopsy.
Okay, we'll be watching for that, Philip. Thank you so much for your insight. We're going to have more testimony from the Karen Read murder retrial in Massachusetts after this quick break. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
This is a
You're watching Court TV. I'm Kelly Craft. In today for Ted Rollins. Thanks for being with us. Let's go back now to Dedham, Massachusetts, where it is day 21 of the murder retrial for defendant Karen Read. Read is standing trial for a second time, charged with second-degree murder in the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. He was found dead outside of a friend's home after a night out drinking. This was back in January of 2022. Right now, we are listening to testimony from the accident reconstructionist, Judson Welcher. So let's get you back into that courtroom.
I'm checking the front here for damage. I'm checking the back for damage.
1 second, please. Okay, doctor, when you were looking for damage on the previous slide, did you find any damage to that lower right red taillight?
No, there was no damage to the taillight.
The middle picture is from the inside, looking at the inside of that taillight. Was there any damage to the inside of that taillight?
There was not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, looked at the height of it. I mentioned this lower taillight. Notice how the structure of the bumper protrudes out. You can see one of the marks, which is consistent with the contact to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Here, this scratch mark, or scuff mark. Notice how close it is to this light. Again, some of the evidence, stickers. Just a better view of those, then going down the side of the vehicle. So with all that information, I mentioned a laser scan. So you move this laser scanner, and each minute and 51 second scan is collecting about 50 million data points. And so you scan all the way around, and then what you do is you merge all that data together. So even though this looks like a poor photograph, what you're seeing is hundreds of millions of hundreds of millions of points. And so you literally can figure out, if you wanted to know the distance from this lug nut to where the lighter is on the ashtray, you could probably do that to an accuracy of about 2 to 3 millimeters. So really, taking tons and tons of data. So it knows the exact position of every one of these millions of data points, and it knows the color associated with those data points.
Why is that data imaging so important in accident reconstruction?
You want to have an accurate model of the car. So, you probably don't need literally that many points to get an accurate model, but that's just the nature of the way the science is going. Computers are getting better and faster. Scanners are getting faster. So you get an enormous amount of data when you use these scanners nowadays. So then, as indicated on the underline here, I did a CDR. That's a little different than what you heard me say before. CDR is crash data retrieval. So that's the hardware and software that you use to download or actually copy or take an image of, which means you're just taking an image off what's on the vehicle, the EDR, which is the event data recorder. So you use the crash data retrieval hardware to download the event data recorder, otherwise commonly known as a black box. So I downloaded the black box from this vehicle, and although you can hardly read it here, again, I mentioned there are two systems on this vehicle. This is the CDR system or EDR system. There's also the text stream. The EDR system, this system is primarily to manage the safety components, protect the occupants of the Lexus. So things like fire the airbag, fire what's called a pretensioner, keep track of the severity of the crash to decide whether we need to fire the airbag. So it's not really designed for pedestrian impacts. So when we downloaded this vehicle, we got what's called a none file. A none file simply means that there's no data there. The system's working properly, we had no fault codes, but for a car hitting a pedestrian to cause a file here, this is really more designed for car-to-car impacts, something that's going to have a significant impact on the occupant of the Lexus. And again, the Lexus is a 6,000-pound vehicle. Mr. O'Keefe's only 216 pounds. So it's not going to register from hitting a pedestrian.
Were you surprised that there was no information about a collision in the EDR?
No, it's exactly what I expected. Okay, I mentioned the second system. So as underlined up here, this is the text stream. So this is from Toyota text stream data. You can see the screens here. There's generally two types of files, what's called a vehicle control history and a PCS file. The PCS file is the, God, I forgot the name of it, the protection system. So I also looked at Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. PCS is pre-collision system. Looked at Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, same thing, took a series of photographs, laser scanned it, looked in it, underneath it, behind it. I mentioned taking some of the bumper parts off. So I took this rear cover off here to look at the damage behind the bumper cover. Most cars have what's referred to as a face bar. That's that piece of metal that you see here. And there's a piece of energy absorber here. That's your face bar. So I'm looking to see if there's any damage to that. There was no damage to that.
Before you go forward, I want you to take a couple steps back because I want to ask you some questions to explain
Please.
text stream data. Could you go back a couple slides, please?
Sure.
Okay. You mentioned that in the EDR, which is similar to a black box, there was no information found. And then you mentioned a different system, the text stream. Can you make it clear for us how these systems are different and where they're stored on a motor vehicle?
Sure. I mean, a lot of data is stored in a similar location. The text stream system was originally designed, according to Toyota, for maintenance issues. It seemed to come about around the same time Toyota was having problems with sudden accelerations or allegations of sudden accelerations. So the text stream data or vehicle control history will give you information when there's, for example, excessive acceleration or rapid shifting of the vehicles or rapid steering of the steering wheel. So the statements are that that's designed to help the maintenance people, if you come in with a problem with your vehicle, to diagnose what that problem is. It has a lot of utility in accident reconstruction because if you jam on the brakes before a crash, frequently the text stream data will record the crash.
You mentioned Toyota a number of times. Could you share with us the relationship between Toyota and Lexus?
Yeah. Sorry, in my mind, they're the same thing. Toyota and Lexus, obviously a little different, but Lexus is basically made by Toyota. So Toyota and Lexus has the Lexus safety system. Toyota has the Toyota safety systems, which you both read with the text stream data.
The text stream data, in this case, does it play an important role in your analysis?
I think so, yes.
The text stream data, did you independently download that data yourself?
So I independently downloaded it, and then I also ran a test with Miss Reed's vehicle, and I created a new text stream file so that I had a stamp in the ignition cycles of what the current ignition cycle was. So I did a sudden acceleration test of the vehicle.
On the Lexus or on the exemplar vehicle?
On her Lexus.
When you did the downloading, why did you do it yourself?
Again, you, whenever possible, want to be the one that does it, make sure it's done correctly, and be able to say, hey, how do I know that's from that vehicle? Well, I know because I was the one who did it. And so if I get it from someone else, then they frequently have to bring that person into court to say the other ones that did it, so then I can use it. So if I do it myself, it eliminates that problem, and then I have no concerns over where it's coming from. So then I know hey, I did it. This is the right car. This is the right program.
You left us at slide 10 when you were inspecting Mr. O'Keefe's car?
Correct. So again, simply a blue arrow indicating that I looked down behind all this stuff, took measurements of it, and then similarly, I have a 3D point cloud of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. So part of the reason we're making these 3D point clouds, and we'll touch on this further, in addition to the scene, you can then basically put all these things back together in the computer. So instead of having to drive the cars to the scene, for example, or to Mr. O'Keefe's residence, you can take these computer models and additional data and put it back in a computer and reconstruct everything on the computer.
We're going to squeeze in a quick break, and coming up, we're going to have more testimony in the Karen Read murder retrial, plus an update on today's proceedings in the federal sex trafficking trial for former hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. That's coming up after this quick break.
Two big trials and neither lacking drama. We're previewing each day's proceedings as Sean Diddy Combs and Karen Read face justice.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV. What do we really know about Diddy parties?
Get a new look at the evidence and the latest from inside the courtroom. Vinnie Politan investigates. A Diddy special report, June 4th on Court TV.
Let's quickly check in on the latest in the sex trafficking trial for Sean Diddy Combs that's happening in New York. We are in day 10 of this trial. Combs' former assistant, who later became his marketing director, Capricorn Clark, she was the government's first witness out of the gate today. Clark is key to the government's alleged conspiracy and criminal enterprise case against Diddy. Her testimony started off with quite a bang, as she was saying that Combs threatened her on her first day on the job. She went on to tell the jury that her work conditions became so bad that she got stress-induced alopecia. Clark said on a good night she may get 4 hours of sleep, but she felt she had no other choice or she would be fired. We'll continue to monitor this trial and bring you hourly updates when we do have them. And now let's go back to Dedham, Massachusetts. This is for the murder retrial for defendant Karen Read. She faces multiple charges, including second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, a Boston police officer. Her first trial ended in a mistrial when the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict. Let's get you back now inside that courtroom. We are listening to the direct examination of that accident reconstructionist, Judson Welcher.
So before we had the exact angle of impact, again, this is for looking at when Miss Read contacted Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, backing out of Mr. O'Keefe's garage at One Meadows. I lined them up just to generally show the approximate location. A couple things. You notice how, again, this lower portion of the Lexus bumper sticks out. Notice how the side of the Chevrolet slopes in as you get higher up. So this portion sticks out more than this portion. And this is where you would expect any contact damage to occur, assuming there was an impact. So again, looking at the measurements up the height of the vehicle, of course, as you indicated, Mr. Brennan, the taillight's gone. And then went to the scene. So same thing, went to the scene, took, again, 297 photographs of the scene, had our people scan it to create a computer model of the scene. So, literally, if you wanted to know the distance from this window to, say, some manhole cover on the road, we have the data to figure that out, down to a couple millimeters.
In addition to going to the scene and doing the digital mapping, you mentioned other review of materials. Did you have an opportunity to review dash cam footage from Canton Police Department police vehicles to see the general location of where Mr. O'Keefe was when first responders were assisting him?
Objection, Your Honor.
So that's just a yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the text stream download. So this is a screenshot from the text stream download. Keep in mind, this is kind of maintenance software. So we're looking at a number of things in the maintenance software. What we see is, and this is noted in the report too, that when the vehicle gets into the Canton Police Department after this event, you can see the mileage is 12,665 miles. So that shows up in Trooper Paul's report. It shows up in the photographs, and it shows up as matching the mileage in the text stream data, both at triggers 1164 and triggers 1167.